Come on, load. I swear my computer's... There we go. Hi guys, and welcome to another dungeon video. Bit of a weird start to a dungeon video this week. Obviously, we're not at the Doomlord Shrine, and that's because where a lot of the dungeons are done now, basically, we get to do this one here called the Secret Lair of the Snowman. Now, aside from the last Elite mission, which we'll be doing next weekend, this one is actually the last dungeon, pretty much. And it's actually got an interesting way to start it. Nobody's around yet because of this interesting way to start it. I'm kind of filming this first to show you guys the dialogue, what's going on and how you sort of start. So basically, if you come here to Umbra Grotto, I did mention this during the Let's Play, and I kind of like skipped through here quite quickly. I didn't really give us much of a tour, and that's because there is in fact a dwarf here who has got a quest for us. But because the quest was only for the dungeon, it's basically two quests. You get the quest that takes you through the dungeon, but there's like a prerequisite quest as well, which is of course something we're totally not familiar with at all. But it's this guy here called Chorus Deep Runner. It's actually a really interesting quest, and a feature of Eye of the North that I really enjoyed. A lot of people were like, oh, it's more grind, but I actually really enjoyed it. So if we speak to him, we'll see that he says this. He's got a difficulty master quest for us. He says, I don't care about kings and destroyers and the like. The question is, are you up to the challenge of finding the lost pieces of this treasure map? They have to be in the mountains somewhere, but I don't know where to look. Bring each map fragment to me, and we'll see if we can't solve this little puzzle, eh? So yeah, you could come, and I remember when I first played Eye of the North, I was so excited about this. It was such a cool, unique quest, and it had a really nice sort of feel to it. It's something that you kind of see in a lot of other RPGs and a lot of other games, but Guild Wars always shied away from it because of the whole anti-grind thing. But I actually quite like a lot of those kinds of things, and this quest, I remember when I first got this, I enjoyed this so much. So we say those pieces of treasure map are as good as found. So we can grab the accept the quest, and now it's basically automatically completed for me, because essentially what would happen is you could just kill enemies in the northern Shiver Peaks, the far Shiver Peaks, these Shiver Peaks up here. You will have seen in the Let's Play, in fact, when I started just now before I came on to film, I looked in my inventory and my storage and stuff, and I had about 4 different map pieces. It's just that a lot of them were repeats of the same map piece over and over again, but we have been having them drop, and every time one's dropped, I've been like, ignore that for now, ignore that for now. But basically, you can grab this quest, and from any enemy here, any at all. I mean, for instance, down here at Burial Station, you know, you've got these worms here. This is where I got my treasure hunter title, right, because you can run to chests there. And I remember, like, there are these little worms here, and you could kill the worms as you were going through, and I got so many treasure map pieces just from those alone, just where you kept going back out there so much. Anything around here will drop these map pieces. There are 4 of them. If we actually have a look in my inventory here now, you'll see we've got, see, we actually found the top left piece 3 times. I think maybe one of these we didn't find in the Let's Play. It was just kicking around in my storage beforehand, but still. And we also found, I think, the bottom right map piece as well. We found at some point in the Let's Play, or in the dungeon series, or at some point. So what I did just before filming here was I bought the bottom left and the top right, because I mean, it's not like I can do a video of me just slaughtering stuff in the far Shiver Peaks for ages until we get the drop. So I've actually bought these pieces. You can buy them, that's totally fine. I don't know really what price they should be going for at the moment, but actually I can't imagine they'd be too expensive. So yeah, it's really up to you however you get them. I mean, obviously if you've been playing through the game before you get here, you will have already been through the far Shiver Peaks. You might have already found one of these pieces drop and been a little bit confused. Do you know where it reminds me of, and this is quite a weird reference, but one of the first MMO I did ever play was RuneScape, and in it I remember there was something about like these keys you could get, like a key, half a key would drop, and you might get a random chance to have the other half a key drop. I never did find out what those keys were for. I never really played that game that much, but I do remember that, and I remember when these first came out, that's what this reminded me of, just so badly. But when you get all 4 pieces, no matter how you choose to get them, you can speak to Chorus again and complete this master difficulty quest. Funny enough. Oh, actually, hold on here. Look, I've completely forgot about this. So he says, long ago, a human who came to Jokna's Forge sold me the middle of a piece of what was an ancient map that led me here. Okay. After spending countless days researching the ancient dwarven chronicles, I have come to believe this is a piece of the map to the great King Hundar's ancient lost treasure. If only I can find the other pieces to the map, I might be able to track down the treasure. You know, it's a treasure hunt, so it's a pretty cool quest. So far, he's found 1 of 5 pieces. So he can tell us that we found these other pieces, but we can ask him some other stuff. So tell me more about the first piece you found. Well, all I've got here is a tiny middle section of the map, and no, I'm not going to let you see and steal my treasure. My hope is that the pieces are up here somewhere. If I can find them all, surely I can find King Hundar's treasure. Okay, cool. So let's tell him we found the top left map piece, which we did find 3 times. Sweet, we're 1 step closer. Can we ask him about... oh, okay, so that doesn't give you interest in lore. I didn't think it did because I completely forgot about this. If each individual map piece, he gave you a description of what was on there, that would be really cool, but I guess he doesn't. So, yeah, we can tell him that we found the top right as well, and we found the bottom left. And then I suppose if we just click that, it will just say yeah. Okay, and we have also found bottom right. There you go, buddy. He says the map's complete. Time to bathe in gold. Yeehaw! Now the map pieces don't actually drop that commonly. Don't get me wrong; they are quite rare drops. So what you just saw me do there might give the impression that it's actually a really piss easy, stupid little quest to do. But it is a master difficulty quest. It can take a while to get the map pieces. If I were you, if you're really into the game and you're playing it a lot, what I'd do is I'd just be aware that the map pieces exist, and then just go and play through all the Northern Shiver Peak stuff, do all the quests, just take your time, relax, and you'll probably have a fair few of the map pieces, if not all of them, by the end anyway. So okay, we can accept it. We actually get a skill here called Drunken Master. Pretty sure that's the last PvE. No, it must be. It has to be. That's the last PvE Eye of the North skill to unlock, and in fact, by an extension, the last PvE skill in the game, essentially, that we can ever learn. So there you go. That's pretty cool. Our collection of Dwarven skills is now complete on that. If I press K, actually, I'm quite keen on looking at this. And our rank in Dwarven, by the way, you might have seen me talk about in all chat in the last dungeon. It's actually getting quite high. It's rank 5. That's a high enough rank. Do you remember what I was talking about at the end of Eye of the North when we got to the central transfer chamber? And I said, oh, the idea is, I suppose, that you could go out and do all those other dungeons and you'd be that much more effective against the destroyers at the end. And in fact, rank 5 is the prerequisite rank you need in order to be able to craft stuff from those guys at the central transfer chamber. So that's actually really cool. It basically measures up perfectly. It's like complete the dungeons and you'll be a high enough rank right at the end, which is quite cool. But yeah, so we get that, and now this actually gives us access to the quest which will take us into the dungeon, which is also a master difficulty quest. I'm not sure why it's master difficulty, because really it's just a bit of a fun dungeon. According to the complete map, King Hundar's treasure lies not far from here. Incredible, all this time and I've been standing on top of a fortune beyond my wildest dreams. Are you ready to become wealthier than any god, Matt Greenspring? Oh yes, we are. Hundar's treasure is as good as ours. You go ahead and get buried in the cavern. In 1,000 years, even you may be worth something. Now, this is quite an interesting dungeon. You can accept the quest there. To enter the dungeon, you don't like walk through a portal like any of the other ones. You speak to him, and he takes you to, well, whatever this undisclosed location is. When you actually get in there, you will see that the marker appears. I can't hold it off any longer. So if we say yes, okay, we'll go in there. We find out that this place is actually the secret lair of the Snowmen. Okay, if we press M, you'll see that the marker actually appears all the way over there. Not too far from the Umbra Grotto, I guess. But there's no direct way into there, which is quite interesting. The last dungeon, by the way, is just up here, which is quite cool, so we'll be quite close. If you watched my Winter's Day series, you will have seen this dungeon already, because at Winter's Day, you can participate in special quests that take place here, where the Snowmen live. These are the Snowmen from the Winter's Day lore. These are those exact guys, and this is where they hide, and this is where they live, while waiting for the next Winter's Day to come about. And we have just found where they live, and we're invading their territory, and it's a really, really, really cool dungeon. It's a lot of fun to go through with. In fact, in Winter's Day, if you do go to the same dungeon, but the Winter's Day corresponding quests, it actually marks you as somewhere south of Ore, which is really weird, but okay, whatever, we'll roll with it. And yeah, so basically what I'm going to do now is, he says, I feel the treasure calling to me. The whole dungeon is us going through here, trying to find the treasure with all these snowmen about, and we're going to see how the snowmen react to us being in their secret lair. What I'm going to do is cut it until I'm with the guys, or you guys that are actually going to be playing with me, who I haven't even decided who it is yet. I've not been to Doomlore. I'll cut it until that, when I do that in about an hour, and you'll see me again right in the entrance here, and we'll all be waving at the start of the dungeon, and we can get a move on. I can't believe that took me like 7 minutes to do this, but okay, what was once Hundar's is now mine. Haha, not quite yet, Chorus. Alright, so I'll see you guys in a second. Let's do this. Alright guys, hi and welcome to the post commentary. So I'm filming this, actually I'm doing the post commentary for this dungeon before I do the post commentary for Arachne's Haunt, which you guys will have already seen, which is quite weird I suppose. It's because Arachne's Haunt took a really long time. It was like one of those hour-long dungeons, so we'll probably get like 3 videos out of it. While this, the secret lair of the Snowman, I can't remember if I actually mentioned this on Sunday, it's actually quite a short dungeon. It's quite a casual, quite an easy, quite a short dungeon. It went okay. Yeah, I say it's an easy dungeon. You'll actually see we do struggle our way through it a lot. People were saying I was overextending a lot as I went through. I didn't feel like I was doing that badly in that department, but I guess you can all see for yourself and judge it yourselves. In any case, it was fun to go through, and we did just fine on it in the end. We got through, and there's actually some cool dialogue stuff that we can talk about at the end there to do with this treasure itself. It's got a really nice kind of twist to it at the end that I quite enjoy, actually. It's been done a lot in a lot of films and books and stuff like that loads of times, but I think it's quite cool. It's quite fitting. I do enjoy it in Guild Wars. But yeah, the reason why I'm doing this is because literally I got home from work earlier, my first day back after a while, yay, and I couldn't motivate myself to do a Arachne's Haunt. It would just take so long. So I'm doing this one first, which is first for the dungeon series, I suppose. And we're coming up to the end anyway, so it's only fitting I try it at least once, I suppose. But yeah, hi guys. First thing before we get into the blog post, actually, I came home today and just everyone had like exploded on the forums and on Twitter and stuff. And that's because ANET actually announced that there would be open beta 100% in March and April. I'm not sure. They sound like they're going to stagger letting people in it, but it's got a lot of people very excited and sort of all raving about it. I'm really excited too. But Guild Wars 2 actually releasing, like, I've been doing this for a long time now, and it's just, it's kind of a weird thing that we've been working towards for a really long time, and it's just not quite there in my head yet. So I've got all these ideas. You will have heard me in my Warring Crichton Let's Play, actually, as we were going through. I talked about this idea of this lore series I kind of want to do, but now it's like, oh, holy shit, I've got like 40 odd days, and I need to wrap this stuff up. I've got to finish. So right now I'm kind of feeling a little bit intimidated by the beta and what happens there, and I'm not quite sure what exactly I'm going to do when the beta comes out and stuff like this. So it's been exciting for me, but it's also been sort of a bit of an eye-opener that, oh shit, we've got to really, I want to be ready for it. I want to be ready for the beta, because it's something that, you know, that we've been looking forward to for so long, and I just really can't wait to do it. But I want to do decent content of it when it comes out. But in any case, so that's basically the big news for today, so yay for that. Very exciting. You've probably all heard it long before this video actually comes out. I've not even finished uploading one of last week's dungeons yet at the time of filming this. In fact, I could trigger that upload right now, actually, as it happens. Hold on 1 second before I forget, because I can go, obviously, now that I'm back at work. It's quite weird. Hold on, which that one, I think. Yeah, it's quite weird, like, when I was off of work, I went back to you've probably noticed, for a few days I didn't do this, but I basically went back to one video a day. It's weird, when you've got the whole day, well, I find anyway, when I've got the whole day for myself, it's like I do less than if I've only got the evening to do it, and I think it's something to do with routines. It's really weird, but now when I get in from work, I'm like this. So basically what I'm saying is we're going back to 2 videos a day, so yay for that. This is the second one uploading now. But yeah, anyway, so that's basically what's going on. It's all very interesting, it's very cool. But we have a blog post to read. We're not going to, because this is actually a shorter dungeon, we're not going to be doing one of the longer dungeons. For instance, there is a blog post, I mentioned this in the last couple of dungeon videos, about the Quaggan. I talked about them a little bit, and how I was wondering whether there was a blog post. There is a blog post, and it will be coming up. But that will be quite a long one. It will be like the crate, you know, and we spent quite a while talking about the crate and stuff like that. And then obviously we've got 2 other race weeks to look at, the Asura and the Sylvari. I don't know about the Sylvari. They might end up getting the axe for the dungeon series, because I might not have enough footage to talk over. If they do, I don't really care that much if I end up skipping out on the Sylvari stuff, but if people really want it, then I might just sort of film some other stuff in game that we might have missed every now or then sometime in the Let's Play, and just have that as like the backing visuals while I talk about the Sylvari. Maybe the same thing from the movement of the world as well. That's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. It will probably be very similar to the dungeon series episodes, except I'll be talking about the lore that is explained in the movement of the world, but I'll also be talking about sort of how that lore, quite a lot of it now, if you look back, seems to be a little outdated, because it is quite old lore. This is the very first lore we ever heard about Guild Wars 2, but I didn't want to do that, particularly before the beta. That might be the last thing I do before we start the beta. But anyway, See, this is how my head goes at the moment. I'm just thinking about the beta constantly. But anyway, we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. For this episode, we're going to be talking about Lion's Arch, because basically where we last left off, we were with the crate, and that was a blog post that was released by Reese Osby on May 4th, 2011. Well, during May, lots of footage came out of Lion's Arch as we first got into Lion's Arch. I talked about this a little bit already. And there's actually, and then there was a blog post after that where a guy talked about designing it. There was actually, though, on the blog post where there was all of this footage of Lion's Arch that came out, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It looks so good. They also actually did release another blog post that talked a little bit with the lore. Oh, that's not actually as much lore as I thought it was going to be. I don't know, guys. That's not very much lore. Maybe we won't get a whole episode out of that. Anyway, we can read it anyway. So, this is, the blog post is called Video City of Lion's Arch. Okay, we get a nice little bit of concept art of quite a nice interior, sort of cathedral-looking room. I love the pictures like this. I can't wait to see more of this kind of stuff actually in-game, because the only place that we've really seen extensively inside of is the Vigil Keep, and even that, there wasn't as many rooms inside there as I would have hoped there to have been. I mean, you can actually see in the Vigil Keep that if you look on the outside of it, it looks huge, it looks massive, but you can't actually see that much inside it. But I want to see more places where, like, big long halls like you're looking at there. That would just be so cool. I mean, everywhere else, obviously there are lots of interiors in the new game, but they tend to be just like small places, like your inns or like your small house. I suppose in Holbrook there are a lot of big halls, but I don't know, that image there, though, I'm talking about that kind of stuff. I'd love to see more of that kind of stuff. But anyway, so this is called The City of Lion's Arch, again by Reese Osby. And she writes about the city here. So she says, The most diverse and cosmopolitan city interior, Lion's Arch is a melting pot where all the races gather and trade. Lion's Arch owes no allegiance to any race or nation, but stands on its own, and it does so by virtue of its active navy, its financial strength, and the intelligence and cunning of its leaders. Actually, speaking of Lion's Arch, I don't think I mentioned this. A couple of videos ago, I talked about that audio interview with Rhys Osby that came out, and she was talking about all this different stuff. As a lot of you should be well aware, the third novel, the third guild... see, Bait has been announced as well. Maybe the third novel will be coming out soon, because people have been talking about how that novel was going to be coming out around the release date of the game. She did talk about she talked about the book in this interview. She talked about how it was pretty much finished. It's just sort of having editing passes it's going through kind of thing. And she talked about how kind of she's her position at ArenaNet right now is kind of like monitoring and reviewing her own book that she's written. It's quite weird. But anyway, she did talk about the plot of the story a little bit more. Every time we hear about it, we hear just a little bit more about it, and we do know for sure it takes place at Lion's Arch when it's flooded, when Zaitan rises and it initially floods, which is really cool, because then if you look at the books that they've released, the first one they released, Ghosts of Ascalon, takes place very close to Guild Wars 2, I think just a year before Guild Wars 2, and the second one they released, we go back in time a little bit further to the time of Destiny's Edge, and I think that's 5 years before, and now once again we're going quite a leap here, but we're going way back this time. What is that, like 50 years I think it is, or was it even earlier than that? Was it around 100 years? But a huge leap back. But even though we're sort of going further back in time, the books are like becoming more and more relevant to the game, because Edge of Destiny is like this huge thing, obviously, with the whole dungeons in the game, and then this other one here, right, is just going to be huge for Lion's Arch. We're going to see the direct consequence of Zaitan rising. We're going to read this book. This is why I think it's going to come out about the release date, because we're going to read the book, and we're going to finish the book hating Zaitan, and we're going to be like, oh, you have destroyed all the lives of these people in Lion's Arch, and we'll be able to go straight in the game soon after and kick his ass. It should be absolutely brilliant. But that's what they're doing, and you do hear a bit about Lion's Arch. I actually remember hearing a while ago there were some rumours circulating about like the book might be different stories of different people around Lion's Arch, and this was never like official information or anything, it was just speculation, but it was quite popular that the idea was going to be you'd have like Lion's Arch, but it was like a hub for lots of individual stories that were like woven together in a way, and how all these different people were affected by the tidal wave. I think there's some lore written about how the Order of Whispers like save the libraries and all the scrolls and stuff that are at Lion's Arch and take them to their headquarters, or it could be the Dermond Priory that did that actually. But yeah, in any case, it's very cool. That's what the book's about, and in fact, as we listen about Lion's Arch here, do bear that in mind, that we'll be learning about how all this happened, I suppose, in the book soon enough. Lion's Arch went through multiple changes over the years since its days as the capital of Kryta in the original Guild Wars to its current incarnation as a free city in Guild Wars 2, because don't forget, it's not really a part of Kryta anymore. First destroyed by the rise of the Elder Dragon Zaitan, the ruins of Lion's Arch were utilised as a safe harbour by ships looking to escape the horrors of the sea. The wreckage of Old Lion's Arch was slowly turned into a refuge for pirates, smugglers, and other independent vessels. Speaking of the wreckage of Lion's Arch, the other blog post, which I won't be reading because we're not so gameplay focused here on this channel, but the blog post that talks about them sort of laying it out, it's amazing. You can look at a map of Lion's Arch and you can see the original Lion's Arch, the one that we grew up and knew with in Guild Wars 1, you can see it, and that's actually flooded. It's in like a bay in the water, and new Lion's Arch is sort of around it. It's so cool. So when we go there in game, we're going to be able to like swim around and find the original lions that are there submerged under the sea. I can't wait. It gets me so excited when I read maps like that. It's just so cool. The wreckage of Old Lion's Arch was slowly turned into a refuge for pirates, smugglers, and other independent vessels. Shanty towns were created, and as the waters slowly receded over the course of decades, a settlement formed that owed no allegiance to Kryta. This settlement was unified by a human named Kobaya Marina, who fought against the Scourge of Ore alongside Char, Asura, Norn, and any other race that would lend vessels to the cause. Of that staunch and allied front, the city of Lion's Arch was reborn. It talks about this front here. I think what they're referencing here is, if you go back and watch the first trailer, the Guild Wars 1 first trailer, it's actually quite cool, because there's some interesting lore going on in that trailer, some interesting questions that it poses to us that we still don't know anything about. Namely, the big one for me me is how the dwarves, it mentions that the dwarves had legends of Zaitan, which just kind of explodes open the intrigue of the dwarves. I mean, we knew that they kind of knew about Pridormus, obviously. They knew that, well, they knew of the Great Destroyer. We know that they're one of the older races, and we kind of knew that there were hints about these things going on with the dwarves. But from that trailer, and in fact from interviews following it that we've had over the years since it came out, they have confirmed that the dwarves knew a lot about the Elder Dragons, which is really, really cool. But that's one interesting thing about the trailer. But the other thing is, if you go back and watch it, actually, the first thing you're really introduced to is this idea of a big battle, this big story that's going on between heroes of the past. When Zaitan first rises and brings Or up, you hear about these guys that try and fight him, and it kind of gives you the concept art of the fight scene going on there. And that's actually a battle, and that's a real story that took place in the lore. That's something that I suppose we'll be seeing in the book, Edge of Destiny. We'll see these people try and fight him and die, and apparently out of this huge cause, this allied front, something good does happen, even though they can't kill Zaitan, because it says the city of Lion's Arch was reborn, which is pretty cool. For generations, the people of Lion's Arch have been on the front line of the war with Zaitan, the Dragon of Or. Their city was destroyed, only to be rebuilt in defiance of the dragon's power. That's so cool as well, I love that idea. The elite Lion Guard have built a fortress on Claw Island, a small body of land in the harbour, in order to defend against Zaitan's attacks. No ship sails from their docks without a wary eye south towards the dark waters of the undead. They live each day with the knowledge that they are a bastion against the destruction that the dragon would bring, regardless of whether or not the other nations of the world recognise or care about their ongoing struggle. Does this blog post actually mention that the thing with the portal to the mists? I can't remember. We'll have to remember that. Lion's Arch is run by the Captain's Council, a committee of wealthy merchants and sea captains. So one thing that's quite cool is obviously the Lion Guard were an arm of Kryta, right? They were an arm of Kryta. When it was destroyed and rebuilt, the Lion Guard do continue to exist, but they don't exist as they did before. They don't lead or police Lion's Arch anymore. They're sort of more of a separate faction as far as I can see, which is quite cool. I like how that changed. The Lion Guard have changed significantly, but they're still there, and I think that's really cool. They actually put the thought in and kind of kept them around, rather than just saying, oh no, Lion Guard don't exist anymore. Because I always liked the Lion Guard. I love that kind of extra dynamic that was there in the Crichton Civil War, where you had kind of this third faction that really we find out were royalists in the end, but it's quite cool. Lion's Arch is run by the Captain's Council, though, a committee of wealthy merchants and sea captains. Those who wish to take an active hand in the city's governance must prove themselves regardless of their race and heritage. They must be respected as a noted ship commander, and they must have contributed to the city's growth or health. This is just so cool. Also, obviously, bear in mind, this is the melting pot city. This is kind of where a lot of people speculate that the racist storylines will come together. I don't know if it's going to be as cut in stone as that. I reckon it will probably be a bit more dynamic than that. It won't just be, oh, and now everybody's together and now starts the mid game. I doubt it will be like that, but I do obviously think we'll all be meeting up there at some point. If they are seen as a leader in the city, then they may purchase one of the seats on the Captain's Council when one becomes available. This system of political governance leads to a great deal of one-upmanship among the local captains and on the council itself. So it's got its flaws and it's got its pros. Lion's Arch is a unique location with very distinctive nautical architecture. Rather than tie the city's architecture to any race or to the original city structures, oh, okay, so this is ArenaNet speaking this time. This is like your behind the scenes. We wanted to give Lion's Arch its own appearance in order to show that it's an independent state. Like other cities in the game, Lion's Arch will have areas for festivals and holiday celebrations. Further, every service in the game will be available at Lion's Arch, all trainers, storage access, merchants and crafters. So that's quite cool. Again, going back to the map, if you read the other blog post, I'll be sure to link it in the description. It does actually have written there sort of the locations of all these things. It's really quite cool. In a story sense, Lion's Arch is extremely important. One of the main themes of Guild Wars 2 is bringing together disparate, even opposed groups in order to fight the greater enemy, the Elder Dragons. Alone, no race will survive their awakening. Only together can the races of Tyria survive. Nowhere in Tyria is that belief more strongly held than the city of Lion's Arch. And indeed in the novels as well, it's really cool because that's kind of what happens in the novels as well. That's where people meet up. It's a big place in both novels that we've had so far. Obviously going to be a big place in the third one. So it's a very cool place. It looks amazing. Again, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Anyway, going back to the dungeon here, how am I going to film the end bit of this dungeon? So basically what you get here at the end of the dungeon, I'm just going to skip through here, you know what, I'm going to be really lazy about this. As you can see here, this is the boss fight, and you can see Freezy, yeah, once again Freezy, I guess Freezy comes to hide here. Freezy just keeps coming back to life. If you've seen the Winter's Day series, you just see Freezy comes back to life over and over and over again. It's really not a very hard fight, you just kill him and all of his cronies. There are a lot there, but obviously a lot of these snowmen are quite low level here. He drops the key, and you can walk over to that gate over there in the back. back and use it on it to open up the boss lock, and I'll probably speed this up here. And in the back you find here actually a dead dwarf. He's got bleached dwarf bones and a load of kegs of ale and a note called King Hundar's Journal, right? Okay, so let's actually go to Wiki and read this out loud, shall we? So the journal says, though I have crafted the finest ale any dwarf will ever taste, I am ironically trapped here where none shall ever taste it but me. After the avalanche I can find no escape from these caverns. My last days shall be spent intoxicated with the finest ale in all the known world. I can think of few better ways for a great dwarven king to meet his end. My only regret is that none will ever know that of which I have brewed. King Hundar, Lord of Deljamore. So he was a Lord of Deljamore, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously in the background there, Guild Wars is always so bad at doing this. In the background, as you can see, they're all speaking there. And Chorus himself says, "This is where, what by the bearded dwarf goddess is this? Ale? King Hundar's legendary treasure is a vat of ale? No, this cannot be. We came all this way, might as well give this ale a taste. Nothing like stumbling back to the surface drunk. How very dwarven of you. Holy Hierophant, this is the finest ale I've ever tasted in my life. The recipe is right here. I'll take the world by storm." So, I like it. What I was mentioning at the start of this video, I like this little quest here because it's like, you know, it's a treasure hunt. They go for the treasure hunt and typically, oh no, they find out it's not real treasure, it's something else. But I suppose it is proper treasure because in the reward dialogue, actually, if we skip over to this now, he says, "When we first found the ale, I was skeptical, but when I think about how many thirsty dwarves I know, well, I could turn a real profit with this friend. Deep Runner Brewery has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" So there you go. It's a cool little conclusion. This is actually the last normal dungeon, if you can call it that, even. I mean, we saw how it started off. That's the last normal dungeon, though. We will actually be going on to the final dungeon. I'm probably going to put up a video of its own talking about the final dungeon and how that kind of goes soon enough next weekend. So we will see how that goes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video very much, and I will see you next time.